Hi cuties, my name is Hanako Kozumi and this is the channel Nerdy Nekoma. Everything here is about Haikyuu chat stories and fanfic. Thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. And with that, welcome to today's video on Other Words, the Tops Get Sick/Injured Part 2. Today's video features Kyoyachi and Erenkida. It's only 2 ships, but those are very detailed. They get really long, so yeah. Also, a little bit of a warning, there will be more angst for the Erenkida part, so be prepared. Have you ever had struggles finding good Haikyuu merch or anime merch in general? Because I for sure did. It can be hard, but this shop offers amazing merch. Like, I'm literally obsessed with the Haikyuu merch. They have the cutest hoodies ever. Now, if you want to get 10% off, click the link in the description. They offer me a collaboration, which is literally amazing, and you support my channel this way. So, win-win. Let's go. It was in the early afternoon that Kyoko left Yachi's apartment. She had meant to stay a bit longer, but Yachi insisted she'd leave before getting her sick as well. The third year had just chuckled and meant to shrug it off, but Yachi was serious. With a sigh, Kyoko admitted defeat, not wanting to belittle her concern. She made sure Yachi had everything she needed and was cared for, made her promise to call if something came up or if she needed help with anything before actually leaving, for today. The blonde waved her goodbye, looking unbelievably cute in her pajamas, which had an adorable light green print with cute pandas on it. She was still smiling while making her way down the hall and towards the stairs when suddenly her vision started to blur. Confused, she slowed down and hesitantly reached for the wall. She took a deep breath to calm herself down, recognizing with a hint of resignation that the room started to sway a bit underneath her feet, or at least it felt like it. The manager had felt this before just a few hours prior, but pushed it aside in favor of caring for her girlfriend. This was bothersome. She sighed, straightening her back, and was about to push herself off the wall when she noticed that the distance between her and the stairs reached barely half a step, and any attempt to climb down looked like a certain death trap with the stairs basically dancing before her eyes. She ended up staggering backward to avoid the fall, but in her hurry, tripped. Yet she lingered a bit by the door after Kyoko had left. She wasn't sure what to do now and already missed the gentle care the Tolla provided when her head started throbbing again. Somehow it had all been so much more bearable when she was around. The blush on her cheeks increased, and a warm, fuzzy feeling accompanied by a tender smile spread throughout her chest. Even though the blonde couldn't shake off the thought that she had probably been a burden to the older, she had to admit it felt nice being cared for. If the sickness was good for anything at this moment, right here and now, then it was to slow down her thinking enough to leave no room for the usually so overwhelming anxiety. She allowed herself to just bask in the love she had been given without questioning if she was worth it. Coincidentally, the warm autumn sun fell through the buildings and illuminated the hallway in yellowish light, completing the scene and capturing her focus for probably a bit too long, considering a neighbor could come out at any time and see her in her pajamas, leaning awkwardly against the frame of her front door. Again, her blush increased to an even darker shade and she was quick to rush inside. That. She paused.
Even with her head feeling like it was wrapped in cotton, she was sure she heard something. Alarmed, her first instinct was to go back inside, but it hadn't sounded dangerous, like someone cracking a lock or busting a door open, so she hesitated. Her eyes fell on the rows of doors to apartments with all kinds of different people living there. Her closest neighbor was a lovely elderly man who, even though his mobility was declining over the years, stubbornly refused any attempts of his children and by now almost adult grandchildren to put him in a nursing home. What if he got hurt on his way upstairs? Even though the apartments were fairly modern from inside, the building was old and didn't have an elevator. It wouldn't hurt to check. Probably. She reached for her keys and walked down the hallway in the direction the noise came from. The closer the corner got, the more clear it was that someone was there, and upon hearing a cry of pain, Yachi accelerated her steps. Her eyes widened as Kyoko came into sight. Shimizu! She rushed to her side to inspect what had happened. The toddler looked up surprised at the sound of her voice before smiling and attempting to get back up on her feet. Yet she immediately rushed to help her. What happened? She could clearly hear the distress in Yachi's voice, and while she originally planned to sugarcoat her words a bit, the blonde's surprisingly stern look behind a thick veil of worry stopped her. I got a bit dizzy and stumbled. Wrong answer. Yachi's eyes widened even further as she hectically glanced from the stairs to her and back to the stairs. You could have fallen down the... I know. That's why I stumbled backward. She chuckled nervously while Yachi pulled her away from the steps as if they would jump them any second now. She mumbled something quiet, or rather inaudible under her breath, and was overall surprisingly silent on the way back to her flat. Itoka? I'm sorry. It's just that I have probably infected you and almost killed you because you got dizzy because of my disease and almost fell on the stairs and... Kyoko laughed. I'm sorry. Just imagine Hitoka Yachi, the staircase killer. I doubt you could ever hurt a fly intentionally. Unless, of course, it would play volleyball against Hinata and Kageyama and use foul tricks. Yachi huffed. That fly should be banned from playing. I'm fine, Hisoka. Really. Her eyes were soft and honest, if a bit more glossy than when she left. Don't feel guilty because I decided to put myself at risk. Fine. But in that case, it's my turn to care for you now. She declared it with a pout, making Kyoko laugh again before pulling the smaller in her arms. I would love that. It was shortly after training. Kita had stayed to lock the gym and club room as usual. After checking that everything had been cleaned thoroughly, Aaron helped him and they walked home together afterward. That too was usual. He did that even before they started dating. Maybe even before he had feelings for the captain, definitely before he noticed them. And Kita, although he tried denying him at first, genuinely enjoyed his company. More often than not, they walked home in comfortable silence. Now that the days were getting shorter again, they even got to see the sky slowly turning orange if they walked slowly. was such a day, and Kida, although he was often accused of being a robot in disguise, enjoyed the sight as they walked over a bridge, slightly arched, to cross a small river on their way home. His attention shifted when the increasingly louder noises from a small group of bikers echoed from the other side. Eren looked up as well and attempted to pull Kida aside since the group completely ignored the designated space for bicycles. Surprise lit up in his eyes when Kida remained in his spot. "This is the sidewalk. It's typically used by pedestrians. I'm sure they will move once they see us." He continued, unfuzzed by the decreasing distance between them, and it was hard to tell if he was stubborn or oblivious. Eren quickly ran after him. He knew to Kida this was the only logical thing since that were the rules, but they didn't care about rules as it seemed. They would not move. He managed to grab his wrist just in time, pulling him back towards the railing. The moment he felt it in his back, he realized with horror that it was too low. His eyes widened, and in the split second it took his body to tip over, he shoved Kida away. Before the captain processed what had happened, a loud splash echoed from beneath the bridge, and Eren wasn't by his side anymore. "Eren!" He turned around, his hands gripping the railing tight enough for his knuckles to turn white. His heart was pounding in his chest, and for a moment he couldn't think clearly. His breathing was rapid and shallow, and part of him wanted to jump as well, but that was stupid. His jaw clenched, and quickly he went through everything in his head that had just happened, considered all the variables. He couldn't jump. The bridge may be barely between 3 and 4 meters high, far from being a deadly jump into a body of water, but he didn't know if the water was shallow or not. He hoped it wasn't. If Eren hit his head, that could cause a variety of serious injuries. As soon as the adrenaline kicked in, his feet moved automatically. He sprinted to the other end of the bridge and slid down the hill beside it. Jumping was out of the picture, and although entering an unknown river was still more than stupid, he had to do it to save Eren. His eyes traced the water surface for any sign of the tall spiker. He had an approximate estimate of where he would have hit the surface. There was no strong current. The seconds passed, and Kida was tempted to jump in blindly. But that was too risky, and even though the river wasn't broad, it would complicate the search and prolong the rescue if he couldn't pinpoint his position exactly. Eren, come on. He silently urged him to get up. Come on, I need you. His voice got almost inaudible towards the end. It was a sudden and overwhelming realization that threatened to pull the rug out beneath his feet. It was the first time in a while that he felt something like panic. He needed to stay focused or he would get crushed by it. It was more silent than expected when Eren finally broke through the water surface. Their eyes met for a split second as he looked around, doing his best to regain orientation. Before Kida could actively order his body to move, it already did. The water was cold, freezing, and it felt like small needles pierced his skin as soon as he came into contact with it. The river wasn't shallow, luckily, but also by no means deep. If Eren hadn't fallen right in the middle. Kida closed the distance between them as soon as possible. A tiny bit of his worry easing when he saw Eren meeting him halfway. He was still slower, and if the captain was mistaking, the crease between his eyebrows signaled pain. As soon as both of them were safely back on land, Eren started coughing. Kida was immediately by his side, inspecting him from head to toe and attempting to ease the cough by patting his back. He didn't say anything as he gently lifted the ace's shirt to check for injuries, and Eren just let him. He was exhausted and still saw black dots dancing in his vision from the lack of air. He closed his eyes, concentrating on his breathing. The hands examining him faltered at his left leg. Kida's eyes widened again and he pressed his lips together tightly upon seeing the scratches decorating the dark skin, too deep to be taken lightly. On top of that, they couldn't know what caused them. What if he developed sepsis from the wound? His eyes frantically searched Eren's to ask if he felt pain, and the words got stuck in his throat when he saw that they were closed. Eren! Panic seeped into his voice as he crawled up to his face, deeming the taller unconscious. Immediately, his eyes flew open. He had never heard Kida this afraid. Now he was straight up panicking. Kida... Listen, you need to stay awake. Stay awake. Large hand cupped the silverhead's cheeks. He wiped the tears away Kida didn't even notice had started to fall from his eyes. I'm here. I'm awake. I'm here. He whispered the last part into Kida's ear as he hugged him tightly. Wait, I need to call an ambulance. At first, Eren wanted to protest, but he knew very well that it probably was the responsible thing to do, which meant he couldn't stop Kida from doing it. He groaned and propped himself up on his elbows. The smallest movement sent a sharp pain through his leg, and upon looking down, he saw why. 3 long scratches were carved into his skin. They must have been the reason for Kida's shock. Well, that and the fact that he just fell from a bridge. Not exactly a daily occurrence. Please don't move. We don't know if your spine might be injured. He pressed his lips together and avoided eye contact. I don't think it makes much of a difference now. He tried lightening the situation and smiled at the captain, but Kida didn't reciprocate the gesture. Instead, his hands clenched even tighter and a shiver ran through his system. Just please don't move. They will be here soon. He took a deep breath and straightened his back. No time to freak out now. Eren was alive and alert. Considering the situation, this was unexpected but good. Everything from here on was outside of his expertise, so the best they could do was wait for the paramedics. Kida, it's gonna be alright. I'm gonna be alright. The silverhead nodded firmly. He had to be. Everything other than Eren being alright was impossible. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making it. You know I like games. But yeah, don't worry. The Eren Kida part gets a sequel. Definitely. Actually, tomorrow will be the next part of the Nightmare series, which also includes Eren Kida and is kind of the next part to this storyline. And after that, we'll get another extra part because, you know, I like that ship. And yeah, I hope if you liked it, consider leaving a like because it really helps my channel grow. And if you don't want to miss out on anything in the future, consider subscribing. It would be great having you here. And now I hope you have a wonderful and amazing day.